Sam, because the morning has gone so well so far, let's attempt to do a Daily Dan poll. You want to try that? By the way, we've been called jerks. We've been called jerks by the absolute best person out there, Joan Jones.
Oh, you got that text too?
Did you get the text too?
Yeah.
We were making fun of what Joan Jones' favorite love song would be, and I made a joke that would probably be something by Phil Collins, because that's literally the only artist that she ever talks about when we start talking about music. She fired off a text and started calling us jerks. So what we're going to do when Joan comes in, because tomorrow is Valentine's
I've got it
Day.
ready.
Yeah, we'll do Joan's favorite song, because it's actually a great song. I don't know if I'd call it a love song, though, but whatever. We'll argue about that with Joan. We already know that she's going to slash at least one of our tires.
Joan, I decided to drive a silver 2023 Toyota RAV4 into work today.
Okay. Are you talking about my car?
What?
Shut up. Moving right along. All right, so Super Text line, though, is open. People are slamming us left and right with their favorite love song. And there's a lot of really good ones out there, as a matter of fact. But I do want to do a Daily Dan poll, just real quick. Do you believe that we'll ever find out the truth about the Epstein files? You figure out a way to word that. But I think that's a good Daily Dan poll, because I don't think that people believe that we're ever going to find out the absolute truth. I don't think that we will. I love what Piers Morgan said. Is my audio up? This is what Piers Morgan said. There was an interview, and I posted it to my X feed, where they're talking about Epstein and all of the myriad of accusations that he was supposedly involved in. Piers Morgan did an interview with a guy from Drop Site News who has been covering all this. And so among the issues that they did discuss, why did he have a fake Austrian passport? How deep was Epstein involved in Iran-Contra? He ran in the same circles as those involved. Independent reporting will say that he was involved. The New York Times will say that he wasn't. What's his involvement with Mossad? And did he work for them? There are people that will say that he absolutely did. Others will say, no, he didn't. But here's the deal. Like he had ties. Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of ties to some very, very high-ranking officials in the Israeli government. So that's why there are some people that say he absolutely worked for the Mossad. Other people say, no, he certainly did not. I really don't know. And at this point, you know what? I'm not going to say that I don't care. I throw up my hands. There's Epstein emails going back and forth of him talking about the FBI and talking about Mossad as well. The other question is, did he work for the FBI? And so the deeper you go, and here's the thing about the Epstein files, and then I promise you I'm going to move on. The deeper you go into the Epstein files, the less clarity you get. The more you see, the less clarity you get. And I love what Piers Morgan said during this interview.
I've reached the point with the Epstein scandal where I'm pretty much prepared to entertain any conspiracy theory until I see concrete evidence it's not true.
Exactly. So, and it's kind of funny because I actually said something very similar during the taping of the Mostly Peaceful podcast, which we tape on Thursdays. It airs on Saturdays. Me, Murphy Show, and also Chris Hand. Now, to Minnesota we go. Tom Homan, of course, we had the news here yesterday as it was happening, where we are pulling federal agents out of Minnesota. The surge is drawing to a close. By the way, coming up at 6:35, going to speak with, I forget who I scheduled, Jonathan Fahey. Jonathan Fahey is going to join us at 6:35. We're going to talk about a number of different things, including the drawdown in Minnesota and also the very, very partial government shutdown that is going to happen. I guess it's this weekend. I'm not even really, to be honest with you, paying attention to that. But We'll talk about all of that with Jonathan Fahey coming up. But the border czar announcing that the surge of federal agents in Minnesota is drawing to a close. They're calling this a significant drawdown of agents, and that it's already been happening. Lots of reaction yesterday. But we have a sense from Tom Homan that it is mission accomplished. I've been talking, about how there's a lot of disagreement amongst conservatives over a number of different issues that are in the news this morning. Number one is the Epstein files and Pam Bondi. President Trump came out yesterday. I'm sure that you heard. He came out and said that he thought that she did a fantastic job. There's a lot of people out there that said, no, she didn't. That's number one. Number two is the situation with the pullout of Minnesota, where you have a lot of people that are saying, and really angry because they're saying that we are retreating, that the Trump administration is retreating. But the reality is that Tom Homan really is giving a sense that it's mission accomplished. And I will say it this way. At some point, it had to end. And if we're ultimately getting what we were asking the government of Minnesota to do and Minneapolis to do, which is work with us in giving us those bad hombres and working with us to go and these bad guys that were in Minnesota's jails and giving them to ICE so that they can be deported. If we're now seeing that cooperation, that's a good thing, friends. Take the win. If they're going to cooperate with ICE and we don't have to go into the streets with all of that insanity, then absolutely that is a win. Now, we have a sense from Tom Homan, it is mission accomplished in Minnesota. Here's some of what he had to say.
In addition to taking public safety threats off the street, ICE here in this state have located 3,364 missing unaccompanied alien children. Children that the last administration lost and weren't even looking for. That's because of the leadership of President Trump, these children were located.
Right. I mean, that's a lot of kids. Now, remember what happened in the Biden administration. I know that I don't have to remind you, but I will. They allowed in hundreds of thousands of kids and then simply lost track of them. Couldn't reach them. Couldn't reach the family members. Couldn't reach the sponsors. And that has been a major part of Joe Biden's immigration failures is these lost kids. We saw the same thing in Memphis as well. So take the win. I don't believe that we're putting our tail between our legs and running away. I don't believe that that's what we're doing. But as usual, people on the left, they have absolutely no interest in giving Donald Trump any kind of props for because we've all been talking about this, right? The lower crime rates, that is huge. Abby Phillips said something on CNN that triggered your fair host. I'm going to play it coming up next because you just heard Tom Homan talking about the recovery of the lost kids. You're not going to believe what Abby Phillips said. She's the rated 43rd cable show in the country with her show over there on CNN. She said something that absolutely was gaslighting. Remember what Tom Homan said about how the Trump administration, they found in Minnesota 3,400 lost kids. This is what Abby Phillips said on CNN.
I know Tom Homan has been big on this lost children thing, but the idea that these children were lost or missing has never been true. Some of them were released into the custody of relatives or other caretakers, which is part of the process over many years.
They often were released to adults who weren't verified.
Listen, all I'm saying is that his characterization of them as being lost has never been accurate. And
you're lying. Abby Phillip is lying. New York Times reported that there were hundreds of thousands of kids that were allowed into the United States. Biden's HHS releases these kids, and when they tried to do wellness checks on these kids, they couldn't find them. They couldn't get in touch with their families. They couldn't get in touch with their sponsors. So I guess my question to Abby Phillip would be, Are we bickering over what the word lost means? That would be my question.
It wasn't accurate when he started saying it a year ago. It's still not accurate today. There are a lot of different reasons why those children were released into the custody of adults in the interior of the United States. That is not the same thing as those children being lost.
So they couldn't get in touch with the kids. They couldn't get in touch with their families. They couldn't get in touch with their sponsors. And they didn't know where they were. That seems to me like a pretty good definition of lost. A lot of these kids, as you folks know, ended up being exploited, dangerous work conditions. They had to be rescued from these situations as well. The Department of Homeland Security finds that children were sexually exploited, abused physically, labor trafficking, horrible, horrible experiences for these kids. So if we're going to split hairs over the word lost, we can. But it does seem to me that if Biden allowed them in, brought them in, placed them with unvetted or poorly vetted sponsors, which did happen, then Biden's administration can't find them, can't get in contact with them. That does seem to be the definition of lost. And so we, as usual, the Democrats seem to be lost in their attempt to tell the truth because they simply can't. Basically, Homan came in a couple of weeks ago. This is my impression. Homan comes in a couple of weeks ago and sat down and just spoke to local leaders in Minnesota and said, look, we simply cannot keep doing this insanity. People are dying, and it doesn't look good for anybody. And this is what he told Laura Ingraham.
He sent me to Minneapolis to do three things. De-escalate, done. Take public safety threats off the street. Over 4,000 illegal aliens were arrested, done. Gain cooperation from state and local law enforcement so it makes the agent's job safer to arrest a public safety threat in the safety and security of a facility, done. But even though we're drawing down resources, we still want to have hundreds of special agents here drawing down on the fraud here from the Somali community and others. Those fraud investigations can continue until they're done. We're going to hold people responsible. We're also got investigators here doing the church investigations, to include Don Lemon. We're not walking away from anything. We've achieved what we came here for. This is like any other surge operation. L.A., it ended. Los Angeles, it ended. Charlotte, it ended. New Orleans, it ended. This is ending the surge, but we're not going away. And let me say this. Over 800 flights a day land in St. Paul, Minnesota. If we need to come back, we'll come back.
So that's Tom Homan. And by the way, I want to do another Daily Dan poll where we talk about, because we did do one earlier, will we ever know the truth of Epstein? 88% said no, we will never learn the truth of Epstein.
It was more like 9999.
Oh, okay. So vast majority of WTN Nation listening to the morning show, no, we're not going to find the truth about Epstein. I want to know what they think about Minnesota and our pullout of Minnesota. Was it a turn and run, a cut and run? Are we leaving with mission accomplished? Or maybe that's how you frame it. Is it mission accomplished or mission failure in Minnesota? Because a lot of people are framing this whole thing as a retreat.
Are we successfully pulling out?
If that's what you want to do, that's fine. And that Donald Trump is looking at polling that shows him underwater with this kind of enforcement because Donald Trump, because we all know that the president takes polling very seriously. So I think that Trump was looking at the polling and he's realizing maybe this is a losing issue for him. But by the way, Tom Homan says, no, the deportations actually will continue.
Patriots, they're going to keep going out there and taking people off the street. And let me be clear. Mass deportations will continue, and we're not rolling back. President Trump promised mass deportations, and that's exactly what American people are going to get. We're going to enforce immigration law without apology. If you're in this country illegally, we're coming for you. But what they're doing is putting politics ahead of the safety and security of this nation, and it's pathetic and it's sick.
Yeah, I mean, look, these things, obviously, they can't go on forever, and whatever the reason for the drawdown, the president has admitted that he needs a softer touch. His administration needs a softer touch with these deportations. But, you know, Homan also said, and I just played you the audio, Homan also said that they would go back if they have to. And that makes, obviously, all the sense in the world. And I do believe that we have seen success with Tom Homan. And I think that and Tom Homan and the entire ICE operation in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I think that we are walking away a winner, if you will. 621 on Nashville's Morning News, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Joan Jones is here, finally. Hello,
Oof.
Joan.
Hi there.
Thanks for showing up for work.
Well, I thought I'd pull a Sam today.
You know what's interesting?
Not come in.
Actually, it's kind of funny. Yeah. Sam didn't show up for work a few days ago. Mm-hmm. Now, we had a little technical issue. And so you were trying to broadcast from home. You had to rush in. It is, of course, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see Friday the 13th playing a role in this.
You know what? Today has been a cluster.
Yes, it has been.
It has been a cluster.
Yeah.
From literally the word go.
Yeah.
The first thing that we tried to do on this radio show this morning, complete failure. And then poor Joan had to drive all the way into to work too.
I honestly, the reason that I like working morning show hours is because you don't have to deal with traffic.
Right.
There are nutballs on the road, crazies.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you made it in okay. And so something happened to the settings. Remember Murphy Show did that remote from the curling thing?
Yeah. I think it's his fault.
It's somebody's fault.
Yeah.
But we end up paying the price. We'll see if anybody ends up with any kind of accountability.
Well, listen, I'll keep my knife handy for the tire slashing event.
All right, real quick. What is your favorite love song? It is not only is it Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Valentine's. But it's also Valentine. I'm going to be honest with you. I actually dread Valentine's Day more than Friday the 13th. Because I have a history of screwing it up. So what is your favorite love song, Joan?
It's by Queen. It's You're My Best Friend.
Okay. I love that song.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call that a love song, though.
It's really not a love song, but it does. I mean, who's the person you're married to? Your best friend.
Well, hopefully. Do you know what I did last night, as a matter of fact? You can play this underneath. You know what I did last night? Would your best friend...
Yeah.
I consider Amy my best friend.
Yeah.
And so when Amy makes something that is god-awful, is it okay to tell her that?
I believe in open and honest communication.
I believe in open and honest communication.
Yeah.
She made some mashed potatoes last night that were awful.
I'm sorry.
How can you mess up mashed potatoes?
I don't know, but she found a way. Yes,
I'm stuck on what
mashies.
you called them. You call them mashies?
Yep. Mashed potatoes. And they were not good.
You could...
They were not good. I couldn't... In fact, I told her, I said, I don't even know what is terrible about these, but they are terrible. And I love you.
Oh my God.
But
Were
I
they
can't
real
eat these.
potatoes?
Okay, so that was my saving grace because they were boxed mashed potatoes.
Now that's what's wrong.
Crime in this part of the country.
Well, because usually I'm the potato peeler in the house.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't there to peel said potatoes.
You weren't there to peel the potatoes for the mashies.
So she did, she did the boxed potatoes, and they were awful. And I told her they were awful.
See, mashed potatoes have to be real potatoes and a full stick of butter.
Yeah.
Only one stick? Oh.
Anyway, so, Joan, we're still having Friday the 13th issues. Now we're having troubles with the phone getting Jonathan Fahey on.
It's really, there's a bug in the system
What
today.
is going on?
Yeah. I still blame it on Murphy, but...
Did Murphy Show people, I didn't hear it, did Murphy Show have problems with his remote yesterday? Because there's been a complete engineering train wreck this morning. It's not Sam's fault.
Nope.
But, yeah, we're trying to get John. It has been like a Friday the 13th. Now, just so we're clear, I would much prefer, Friday the 13th over Monday, any day of the month, any time, because it's Friday as opposed to Monday. But still, all right, I think, do we have Jonathan Fahey now? We don't. Oh, boy.
Yeah, it just gets better and better. I think we should start drinking. That's generally, I think Sam's in agreement.
You start drinking? We could do a drinking game. Every time there's some sort of a technical malfunction here in the studio, then we could all just take a drink.
We'd be sloppy drunk by now.
We sure would be.
Yep.
Man, I'd be underneath the table. One of the things that we want to talk to Jonathan Fahey about, if we actually can figure out how to bring him up on the audio console, is that coming up, is it tonight the government is going to be shut down tonight, right, Joan? Saturday morning.
At midnight, yeah.
At midnight.
You're not going to see very many impacts from this, though.
No?
No, because...
No, it's
yeah.
Go ahead, Joan.
Everything was already funded before they did this, and that's why the Republicans felt like they could do this because it gave them time. TSA agents aren't going to stop getting a paycheck until mid-March.
Right.
That's when their next paycheck is due. Who else was funded? So FEMA was already funded.
Yeah,
ICE was funded. CBP was funded.
Yeah, all these groups are already funded. So they're going to shut down the government literally for nothing at all.
Coast Guard will be affected.
Well, you know what? It's February, so I don't know if there's a lot of Coast Guards out there patrolling the beaches. Although I know the Coast Guard does a lot of other things.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
So part of this is the Democrats are demanding certain changes to ICE, right? So they have, if they are going to fund ICE, then they want certain things in return. They want targeted enforcement. And by the way, the Republicans basically said, we're not going to agree to any of this. The Republicans did give them a counteroffer. But listen to how ridiculous this is. All right. So this is what the Democrats wanted from the government, from the Republicans, so that they would agree to fund the Department of Homeland Security. The Democrats wanted the Republicans to agree to, as related to ICE, targeted enforcement. DHS officers cannot enter private property without a judicial warrant, and indiscriminate arrests and approve warrant procedures and standards. Require verification that a person is not a U.S. citizen before holding them in immigration detention. Now, I think that obviously all of us want a proper, a proper process to make sure that we're getting the right people and make sure that we are arresting the right people. I don't have a problem as long as these people are given their due process. The Democrats will say, oh, they're not getting their due process. And Tom Homan and the Republicans will say, yes, they are getting their due process. Do you know what part of the problem here is, Joan? Part of the problem is that you do have the... So I guess we're going to have to, hey, Sam, are we just going to give up on Jonathan Fahey? You know what you could do, Sam? You could text Jonathan Fahey and tell him to call the 737-9986 number. We could do that if that's what we want to try. Because clearly we're having problems with the hotline. So, but here's the problem that the Democrats have. I don't believe that the Democrats have any credibility left. Because, Joan, how many times have we heard the Democrats say something like, for example, ICE has arrested a 5-year-old boy. Oh, the Republicans and ICE, they're holding a 5-year-old boy in captivity or whatever it is. And then it turns out, no, the father abandoned the 5-year-old boy, and the members of ICE were taking care of the kid. I mean, we've heard those stories all the time. And so they just, to me, they've lied so much about what ICE has been doing that I don't buy any of it. Whatever the Democrats say at this point, because we've talked about this, whatever the Democrats say at this point, I don't buy. No masks. They want to prohibit ICE and immigration enforcement agents from wearing face coverings, which obviously is dumb because you have the Democrats and you have people like Hakeem Jeffries and so forth. And, they've been essentially calling for violence against ICE. We all know that has been going on. As a matter of fact, we have been talking about how ICE has been facing an increase in attacks against them. I think it was 33,000% or something like that. It is absolutely ridiculous. I love this part. Require ID. So the same party that does not want any ID in the voting booth or to register for vote, they're requiring ICE, or they want to require ICE to have ID. I mean, isn't that rich? require DHS officers conducting immigration enforcement to display their agency unique ID number and last name. Require them to verbalize their ID number and last name if asked. So that's also part of it as well. Are we going to try Jonathan Fahey? I see that he is. Okay, so let's see if this works. Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
I'm doing well, Dan. How are you?
Oh, I'm having a great morning. Joan's having a great morning. Sam's having a terrific morning.
Oh, it's been wonderful.
It's been wonderful because it's in case you didn't know, Jonathan, it's Friday the 13th.
Oh, yeah.
And everything that could go wrong has gone wrong here on Nashville's Morning News. But real quickly, let's just get into the content. So it looks like DHS is, not going to be funded. It's going to be a partial government shutdown. But a lot of these things have already been funded through the big, beautiful bill. But I was just going through, telling folks what the Democrats have been demanding of the Republicans in order to fund DHS. And, as the story goes, a lot of these things that I'm relating to folks, to me, they're simply unreasonable. For example, and I was just talking about this, requiring ID. The Democrats, the same party that doesn't want ID for voting, is requiring or wants to require ICE and DHS officers conducting immigration enforcement to have to show their unique ID number and the last name and all of that. Clearly, that's going to put ICE in danger in a time where we've got an increase of 3,000% in attacks against ICE?
Yeah, it's really insane. And, the number of threats they're getting, and those will increase online. I think Todd Lyons, in his testimony earlier this week, was talking about how people have posted videos of his wife walking to work online. So this idea that that's somehow reasonable in this day and age is really insane. But I think your point is great. Like that should be the Republican chess move. Should be like, that's a great idea. If you agree to voting ID and citizenship requirement, we'll give you this one, and then they would back off. But yeah, it's insane. But all of their demands really boil down to they don't want deportations. Right. I mean, that's really what they're trying to do. So they can, which just speaks to their cynicism. Their true view is no deportations, and they want the people here illegally to become citizens and be able to vote and vote Democratic. And they have to play all of these games and put all of us in danger in order to achieve that, because if they're honest, they lose. So they have to do all this other chicanery, and it's so shameful. Chicanery. I love that word.
Let's talk about real quick, because we're having this debate on the air and off the air actually as well. So we know that Tom Homan came out, and they are some are saying retreating, but they're drawing down the federal law enforcement in Minnesota. So I think that Tom Homan and before him, Kristi Noem, I think they've done a pretty good job of doing what they need to do for mass deportations and, doing what they needed to do to get the bad guys out of Minneapolis. Some people are saying this is a retreat. Do you think this is a retreat, or do you think it is mission accomplished?
I think it's more on the mission accomplished side, and the main thing, which was the main issue in Minneapolis and in Minnesota as a whole, is the sanctuary cities issue. And what's going on now, they haven't officially unsanctuary citied themselves by honoring detainers, but what these jails are doing, and what Tom was saying, they're notifying ICE 48 hours before somebody's going to be released, so ICE could be there at the front door to arrest them and remove them. So, yeah, I think, Minneapolis, they really made a major concession to what they wanted to do, and you're right. They've already arrested, or I think it was around 4,000 people and really serious criminals. So at some point, the number of targets dwindles, and it's not dissimilar to Chicago or New Orleans, or I believe Charlotte as well. They had surges, locked up a bunch of people, and then moved on. So I don't consider it a retreat. I think Tom did a great job not only sort of organizing things, but also on the optics of it, because it does matter. Like the tone, we in many respects, like you want to say I don't care, but you need the public support, particularly going into the midterms and everything else, to just show a level of professionalism and other types of things. So I think it's important, But overall, I would consider a victory if Minneapolis, Minnesota as a whole, continue to cooperate with ICE and turn over the bad guys. It's a long-term win.
Well, that's what they wanted all along. I mean, had they just cooperated initially, then, Alex Preddy and Renee Good would still be alive, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. If Minneapolis and the whole area around there was doing this to begin with, this would have never happened. And, yeah, that's one of the worst things about this is some respects, Renee Good and Alex Preddy were victims really of the left's rhetoric and Minneapolis's inability to police their own community, because if they had a police force that was preventing people from interfering with ICE, none of these people would ever get very close to ICE. Like if Renee Good would not have had her car blocking the road, Alex Preddy wouldn't have been able to get in these officers' faces. So it really just is a major, what all of these things a lot of the blame has to be laid at the feet of the public officials, meaning Jacob Frey and Tim Walz, because they put their political agenda, this open borders agenda and anti-Trump agenda, ahead of the safety of their citizens, which we know they did that before in 2020. That was, and it's just like, there's something just inherently wrong about what they've been doing and the way they've been handling things.
Jonathan Fahey joining us. All right, real quick. So Walz and Frey are now demanding that the U.S. government pay them back for the damage caused from the vandalism and the rioting, if that's what you want to call it, in Minnesota. They expect the federal government to repay Minnesota. Now, my take on this was, are you kidding me? When are they going to pay the federal government back the $18 billion that was stolen by the Somalis? What say you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if there's any liability here, it should be on the officials of Minnesota. One, on the fraud, but also if you think about it, we had to surge so many more resources into Minneapolis for ICE-related mission because they wouldn't turn over criminals. So, it's totally absurd. They can't control their own city. They had $500 million in damage during the George Floyd riots. So, this is a city it's a complete joke. I mean, it's funny that he even says that, because the federal government should be getting money from them for all the extra resources that are required to do what should amount to very simple work. But by their obstructive behavior, their rhetoric, they made everything more difficult, but utterly absurd. Tim Walz, I mean, he's just like flailing. I mean, I've never seen somebody that always looks overwhelmed, no matter what the situation was. He always looks like he can't meet the moment. But I think he's just clinging to any status within the Democratic Party after the Somali fraud basically crushed his electoral career.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that you have both sides claiming victory, right? You have the left claiming victory because there is a drawdown, and you have the right claiming victory because we have been able to gain now cooperation with ICE, and we've also gotten a lot of bad hombres. One of the things, and I've only got like 45 seconds, but Abby Phillip on CNN said that the characterization of children being lost, and I'm putting that in air quotes, but children being lost, which is what Tom Homan says. He said we were able to find 3,300 lost children. And Abby Phillips says that characterization is wrong, that these children were never lost. And essentially what she's doing is she's calling Tom Homan a liar. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's certainly not a lie, because remember, Mayorkas acknowledged that as well, that they were hundreds of thousands of people that came in and DHS and HHS didn't know where they were, and they were turning them over to sponsors that they didn't verify. Yep. So it's not Tom Homan didn't make this up. It was going on before he got there. Yeah,
I think Abby Phillip is I don't know. Somebody said she's like Joy Reid with an inside voice. And I tend to agree, because that is just absolute gaslighting. Anyway, thank you very much, Jonathan, for going the extra mile to get you on the air this morning, and appreciate your insight as always.